to the latest video installation of Get Behind Me Now Stay There. And today we are privileged to have on Frankie Hernandez. He's a musician that's very well known around the country, and of course he's from Ashland, Oregon. Hey, welcome, Frankie.
Thanks for having me.
Oh yeah, you know what? We know, man. You're so popular, and we've tried so long to get you on, and finally, you know.
Well, I'm glad you feel that way, and it's I do what I do, and I'm surprised who knows about it.
You know, anytime I mention your name, you know, anywhere, especially around the Rogue Valley, everybody knows who you are. And I was talking to a friend today, as a matter of fact, and she's in Colorado Springs, and she had heard your stuff on SoundCloud. I mean, how cool is that?
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, because she's she's like, you know, hey, are you guys going to do film today? I said, yeah, we are. And I said, well, Frankie Hernandez to me on. She goes, I really like his music, you know. And I go, really? Where'd you heard of him? And she said, down SoundCloud.
Wow.
So there you go. So how do you like recording in the digital age?
I really can't see how we did it before.
Oh, really?
No, you know, the fact that we don't actually need a CD or a physical product anymore. You know, like, this, as soon as we're done with this, bam, it's now instant information available to, whoever would want to search it out.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. It's kind of curious your reaction, because a lot of artists I talk to will be like, I like the sound quality better than the old days, and there's only so much you can get out of digital, and but I don't, as a person who's just a consumer and not a musician, I don't hear the difference.
I kind of don't, but I think, what really matters is what comes out of the speakers. There's a lot of, you can sample good stuff, and you're getting a high bit rate. So pretty much everything that goes down, I think we're getting truer and truer representations of what's actually happening.
Oh, cool. Well, like I say, it sounds, your music sounds great, and everything I've heard on digital sounds really good, and it's hard for me to tell the difference. Yeah. But there's people out there that I like to say have like dog ears, and they're like, they hear things that nobody else hears.
Or they just might have a preference, because it's people that are used to hearing analog sound are also generally used to hearing it through analog equipment. So now a lot of the speakers these days have built-in compressors, and it's meant to pump out things that were tracked digitally and have.
Yeah, it's amazing. The speakers these days are just like the new Kindle Fire, for example, I got for my daughters, and it's got high definition speakers built into it, and you can't even see them, dude. They're like about as big as your thumb.
Oh wow!
And it sounds like you're in a movie theater.
Wow!
I mean, the tablet's only 7 inches big, and you have to turn it down. It gets too loud. I'm like, wow, man, things have come a long way since the 45s and 33s and 78s, and Plus, my hand was getting tired, man. Cranking up that gramophone all the time, So, but then again, that was me. So let's talk about your music,
Sure.
Where do you get your style from? Because I've heard you do, all kinds of different styles. Reggae, of course.
Sure.
And then you do a lot of blues.
Yes, I'm from Austin, Texas. So
okay.
I'm definitely influenced by blues and southern rock. I also like a lot of the norteño, Tejano music that my parents listened to growing up.
Oh, okay.
So I'm definitely things that are bluesy and Latin-y always kind of fire my blood up.
I really do. It's somewhat like a cliche when you're interviewing an artist. You're like, hey, I really like your stuff, but I really do like your stuff. It's really good. And some of the Latin rhythms that you do are just like really, really cool. So
well, I'm just blessed to be surrounded by great players. Because a lot of it is, I have my limitations as a guitarist, and there's only so much that I can imply by myself, but to have an incredible rhythm section and a band that can really flush out what I want to hear.
Right.
It's such a blessing.
And I like the way you use, the guitar, of course, and then the congas, and then the brass. They put the brass in it really, to me, it's like the icing on the cake.
Oh.
I'm like, yeah, okay, now it's a party, you know?
Yeah. Well, I grew up playing trumpet, and so that's.
Oh, did you really?
That's a big influence on me as well. I grew up. Like I said, I'm from Austin. I went to an arts magnet high school, and a little while after I graduated, it actually became officially an Academy of the Arts down there. So I had amazing training. Grew up playing classical, and went to college and learned a little bit about jazz, and then dropped out of music school so I could play some real music.
Well, for all of our viewing and listening fans out there around the world, Austin is in Texas, which is in the United States. It's like the music capital of the Southwest.
Yeah, well, they call it the city moniker is live music capital of the world.
And I bet it is.
There's a lot of music there, and it's a great place to put together a project and grow something creative with incredible players.
Now, how do you like the Ashland city compared to Austin?
It's a different support system. Austin supports live music. In its way. There's a lot of people come there to play. In Ashland, there seems to be a lot of support for people's truth. So what I've noticed is if you believe it, then we'll believe it.
Right.
and so the challenge is what do you believe? Who are you? What do you want to create? And people have all sorts of talents that they come here, to discover and hone.
Yeah, I've heard it mentioned that this is like a little theater town, and everyone here seems to be a musician, an actor, a reader, a writer,
entrepreneur. That's a creative endeavor.
Right. But I like your comment about the truth thing, because I've heard a lot of musicians and a couple of them that are pretty famous, and they were asking them, did you think you were that good? And he goes, yeah. I thought I was that good. It was just a matter of time for everybody else caught on.
Wow.
That was John Lennon who said that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Of course it was.
Yeah. No, they asked him that, and he said, yeah. He goes, I really thought we were that good, and it was just a matter of time for the rest of the world caught on.
Yeah.
And I hear in your comment that that's the same thing. It's like, if you really believe in yourself and you really think your music is special, that people will see that.
Well, sure. I think it's more about for me. Like before I moved here, the focus of my music was always supporting others. All of my time in Austin, most of it was as a trumpet player. When I moved to Los Angeles, before I moved here, I worked largely as a trumpet player, and then I started getting jobs as a hand drummer, accompanying singer-songwriters, singing backup vocals, writing music for other people. And so when I came here, was the first time that I realized that there's no music scene here. And if I'm going to work, I'm going to have to create the work, and that's when I really started focusing on myself as an artist. So what was becoming true for me was believing myself to be an artist, and somehow I sold that to everybody, and it's just been this amazing relationship of I feel like people believing in me and me creating something to believe in.
Well, I think the thing is, you make really good music, and we're going to be really honored here. You're going to play for us in a little while, and it's the music. It really is the music. When you hear your songs, you're like, dang, that's good. You want to hear it again, and so I don't know if it's like certainly marketing comes into it a little bit, but it really comes back to do you have a good product? And,
Sure.
And that's what you do have.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so let's talk about your new CDs.
Okay. Well, the most recent CD we have is it's actually a live CD from when we opened for Ziggy Marley here at the Brit Festival. Initially, we were slated to play the Table Rock stage, where they usually have us local artists open. So the gates open and people have about an hour to shuffle in and get their spot on the lawn. And there's music playing up in the bar and food area.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were going to play the Table Rock stage, and then it was probably 3-4 days before Ziggy actually got here, the opening band had canceled, and it was presented to us as an opportunity to play on the main stage. mentioned, and the guys, I had moved back to town, I guess, a month before, and so it was still a new project, so we just rehearsed the tunes a bit, quite a lot, and had this incredible performance. So at the end of the performance, we got a copy of the CD from the soundboard.
Nice.
And it was phenomenal. George, the sound guy there, is as masterful as you could be at what he does.
I've heard it, and you're right. It is phenomenal.
Yeah, well, you think the guy drives a $500,000 sound system. You'd think before they give him the keys to something like that, and sure he's qualified. But we got the CD. I thought just the raw track sounded great, and I really wanted to. When I go into the studio, like I said, I was raised classically playing trumpet and went to music school, and I'm kind of a nerd.
Okay.
Kind of is an understatement.
Oh, I can see that, Frankie. I can see that.
I always tell people don't be fooled by the hair or the guitar.
That's the first thing when I met you, the first time I met you, I was just like, damn, this guy's a nerd.
Guy's such a nerd.
Yeah, where's his pocket professor,
In the car.
In the car.
And so when I go into the studio, I tend to overthink and be a little clinical, and I really focus on all the things that I never focus on playing live, or try not to. And so I feel like in the studio, like If You Seek is the album that I recorded before I moved back to Austin after my father died, and that one, the songs are really great, but I don't feel like they have the energy that they have that I have and the band has playing live, because it's a lot more rock and roll. There's a lot more. The intention is energy over notes. Does it feel good? So here is this album where the playing wasn't perfect, and the arrangements weren't quite perfect, but the energy was good, and I wanted to capture that, put that out. So
the energy is great, Frankie. It just draws you right in. I heard it, and I heard a sample on SoundCloud, which was right from the first couple of notes on the song. I was just like. Dang. I want to hear the whole thing. It makes you feel good. As opposed to some songs are melodic, and you're like, okay, we're in the background, but some songs just immediately draw you in. You hear the first few bars, and you're like, hey, this one, I want to dance.
Yeah. Well, I really, I've been writing songs for a long time now. I guess since a long time. We'll leave it at that.
Okay.
And it's at this point it's beyond craft for me, because I want, when I write something, I just want people, whatever it is I'm working on, I just want them to feel loved, because I feel like that's my job as a container, because when people are focusing their energy on you, your function is to contain that energy, or contain that attention, and I want to turn that into love. I want people to feel good. I want people to feel important, and to leave the concert feeling better than when they came.
That's great, and I think everybody should do that, And well, Frankie, we're so glad that you came on. We have to set up now for a little bit, because you're going to play live for us.
All right.
And once again, thank you so much for being on. And you have an open invitation to come down here and record in our studios anytime you like.
Oh, thank you so much. And I always tell people, don't invite me, because I'll show up.
All right, well, I'm sure we can accommodate you. All right, until next time, we want to wish everybody a Major League Day, and thank you so much, Frankie.
Thanks for having me.